and welcome to Scottish Car Enthusiasts and Trains TV. And in this video, I'm reviewing a car that takes me back to my childhood. Am I going to be disappointed or will I be pleasantly surprised? This is a 1994 Ford Escort 1.8 LX turbo diesel, finished in possibly Nuvera red, and is the Mark 5B facelift. Now, I've got many memories of my dad having 3 of these Escorts. My dad had a Mark 5, then a 5B, and then finally a Mark 6, which is just a freshened up version of the Mark 5B. This Escort has only 17,500 miles on the clock, and it's been stored away for many years, up until about 2022 when it was recommissioned. So let's start at the front of the Escort, and the main change from a Mark 5 and a Mark 5B is the smiley grille, the clear side repeaters, and on this model you get black bumpers with a chrome strip going all the way around the bumper. Moving on to the side profile, other changes from an earlier Escort are the body coloured door handles, body coloured mirrors, and if we go into the driver's side, you also gained a fuel flap filler. Earlier examples of Escort were just the fuel cap was built into the bodywork and not covered by the fuel flap door. On this model you get 14-inch steel wheels, and again you've got the black bumper at the rear and a black door strip with a bit of chrome in it as well. Round to the rear of the Escort, changes from a Mark 5 and a Mark 5B are the revised rear light clusters with the reflectors built into the boot lid. You've got a number plate surround. I think earlier models just had the boot lock in the middle of the boot. You've also got the black bumpers, which I think are a wee bit more curvier than the earlier Escorts. And you can tell this is a diesel model because it's got the turbo diesel badge on the right hand side, on the bottom right hand side, and you also gain a spoiler on the LX trim. Under the bonnet of the Escort you have the 1.8 TDDI producing about 90 PS at 131 Newton meters of torque. Performance figures are 0 to 60 in about 11.5 seconds and a top speed of 107 mile an hour. A combined MPG of about 44-45 MPG, and you could get realistically 534 miles out of this tank. One thing I really liked about the Fords of this era was that you have the all the sort of maintenance things highlighted in yellow. So we've got our screen wash down here, our brake fluid here, you've got your power steering, and then your coolant tank, and you've got your dipstick. Jumping into the Mark 5 Escort for me is like jumping into a pair of comfy slippers. So let's start with the driver's door. So in the driver's door, top of the door, we've got some plastic, hard plastic, which incorporates the speaker, the door lock, which you can lock if you push to here, and the door pull. You've got the door handle, and again it's carpeted in this sort of velour 90s trim. You've also got a door bin, which is separated into two areas, which I've not seen in a while. Which is quite handy if you want to store things like tapes, for example, music tapes, cloths for just wiping the windows with, and that's finished, and a little bit of carpet as well. So when you actually do open the door and see what you kick the door with your foot or catch it with your foot, it's not going to mark the plastics. One thing I forgot to mention on the door is that it has manual mirrors. There's no electric mirrors on this model. Moving on to the dashboard, we've got two blanking plates, an air vent here. The blanking plates here, one would be for the front fog lights and possibly Ford's quick clear front windscreen. Then we have the all too familiar Ford airbag steering wheel of the early 90s. You would have found this in Fiestas and the Escorts. And just behind that we have the hazard warning light switch, which again is reminiscent of old Fords from the 80s and the 90s. Moving on to the dials, we've got our rev counter to the left, speedometer reading up to 130, the fuel gauge and your temperature gauge. And underneath that, we have a bank of warning lights, and we've also got a couple warning lights here from the indicators. To the main beam. Talking of indicators, our indicator stock is on the left, which also incorporates our light stock. So side lights, headlights, main beam, and over to the right we have our windscreen wipers. So we've got on the end of the stock we have our wash, push up and you get a quick sweep, down for windscreen. And pull it towards you and that gets your rear window. Moving across, we've got a little handy storage area here for coins, little pencils. Maybe if you were into golf you could chuck your pencils in there, your scorecard pencils. You've got your rear fog light here and your heated rear window here. You've got a 3-speed fan, temperature controls here, and where you'd want to send the air, the heat in the air. Just above that we have a little storage area, maybe for like your mobile phone if you were stopped for a wee bit of time. You've also got a digital clock here, which also incorporates the vehicle immobiliser. Moving down, we have Ford's key code 2006 RDS stereo, and we've got an area for your tapes. We've actually got, we're all sort of cut in. Got a 12-volt socket and an ashtray. We then have our 5-speed manual gearbox, lift up and down for reverse. Moving down, we then have our electric window switches. And moving behind the gear lever, we've got an electronic boot release, like so, manual handbrake, and that's about it. If you're a passenger, luxuries you'll get here are a little tray to store things in, and we've got the glove box as well with 2 cup holders, possibly a pen holder here, maybe like a business card holder on the right, and maybe just a little place just to put a small book or something like that. Moving into the rear of the Escort, it still looks a nice comfy place to be. I think it's the seats look quite well padded in the back. You've got seatbelt tidies, and one familiar thing that most 90s Fords did have back in the day, the roll-out ashtray. And in the back, the back of the driver and passenger seats are backed in plastic, which is probably quite helpful if you've got maybe kids. If they're kicking the back of your seat, it'll be easy enough to wipe off dirty marks. And now we're going to move into the boot. So we've electronically released the boot from inside. You can do it with a key as well. And you've got a nice big deep boot. You would get a spare wheel on this model, but it's not in the car at the moment. And as a little reminder, there's a little, I don't know if it'll focus probably, a little PDI quality check sticker from the 4th of July 1994. And you don't get air conditioning on this car. What you do, get a tilt and slide glass sunroof. You also get an alarm with it as well. The alarm sticker being on the back passenger door, and the key code radio sticker as well. So that's the Mark V Escort. It would be a year later that the Mark VI Escort would come out and replace this model. Basically, it was essentially the same car, but it was given a fresher interior, it was given a new front end, and I do believe that the suspension was tweaked to make it a bit better to drive as well. Because a lot of people when this car came out complained that it didn't handle great, and it received a lot of criticism at the time. Ford were going to be putting brand new engines into the Mark V Escort when it was meant to come out, called the Zeta or the Z-Tech engines. They were meant to be powering the car, but no, that never happened. They had to soldier on with the 1.3 HCS and the old CVH units in 1.4, 1.6. The 1.4 CVH unit actually continued into the Mark VI Escort as well. But it's actually quite funny as we start to leave 2023. These cars, the prices on these cars are starting to rise. Especially Mark V and Mark VI Escorts. And this Escort is currently for sale at the Car Cave in Bonnyrigg, near Edinburgh. And this car would make a perfect little retro car or a daily. If you're handy, it could just do where we tidy up on the bodywork. But it's a great usable little car. And if you want to know more about this car, then what I'll do is I'll put details in the description box below, and you can contact Alan at the Car Cave if you want to know more. As usual, don't forget to like and subscribe at Scottish Car Enthusiasts and Trains TV, and we'll catch you in a future video. I'm now away to try and hide my wallet because I'm sorely tempted with this. It's a great looking little car, but you'll have to see in a future video if I do purchase it or not. But for now, thanks for watching and farewell.